some good news as we go into the weekend. Gas prices have now fallen for 24 straight days, but still sit at $4.72 a gallon on average nationally. Will the pain at the pump continue to ease throughout the summer? Tom Kloza is the OPIS Global Head of Energy Analysis. Tom, good to see you. Tough to celebrate given we're still $1.60 higher than we were 1 year ago, but we'll take the baby steps. Where are we headed, though?
Well, we've got two ships passing in the night right now. We've got the wholesale market, which dropped about $1 to $1.25. And we've got retail, which only matched about 25% of that drop, and it's catching up. Unfortunately, I think we're going to see, prices rally after they find a bottom here in the first half of July. But for the moment, this weekend, and perhaps Monday or Tuesday, you're going to see the lowest prices at the pump that you've seen since May. Again, higher than every other year, but lots of, a veritable gauntlet of things to go through in the next 60 to 90 days or more.
And to that point, you've said this veritable gauntlet of risks could lead to explosively higher prices, you call them in your notes. Which ones are the biggest factors you're watching? Obviously, you have things like weather and production and oil prices as well.
Well, I think the biggest factor is Vladimir Putin. And I think that, he's demonstrated his ability to invoke pain on Western countries and particularly in Europe. And he still has some buttons that he might push on that. And he's very, very unpredictable. Secondly, I think you've got the heat and the high temperatures and perhaps the instability of some of the grids. But biggest of all, you have hurricane season. I'm about 15 miles from the Gulf of Mexico here. It's 90-degree water temperature. I don't like the sound of that, and I think that's a real prevailing updraft for futures prices and for oil prices at the pump or whatever in the next 90 days.
What are we talking about, Tom? Are we talking $5, $5.50 if there is a bad hurricane season?
We're talking about unprecedented numbers. So I don't want to get into the math of it, but if you had a $5 posting and you had your numbers starting with a 5, where they were old-fashioned and not digital, hold on to those placards right now, because I think we have not seen the high for gasoline prices this year. Now, it will be episodic, but then we'll transfer the risk to things like diesel and jet fuel. Jet fuel prices averaged something like $5 a gallon in the second quarter up in the Northeast. So, that's going to manifest itself with higher fares, even with demand maybe a little bit below where it was in 2019.
And in terms of the timing, you did tweet about this current data that we're seeing, obviously people enjoying these low prices at the pump. But you said, we'll search not for a bottom in the next week, but a new launching pad for gas prices. What sort of domino effect do you expect that to have on the broader market?
Well, gasoline prices have the impact on the public, which is just incredible. Banks try to rationalize it and say, if you adjust for inflation, they should be $6.60 right now to have real pain. But they don't understand how people react when they see high prices at the pump, or when they fill their cars with gasoline and they get $100 or more on the price tag there. So it has a really dramatic impact. Again, I'm more worried about the price increases that are coming for diesel and jet fuel. Those products globally are in very, very short supply, and particularly in the Northeast, which is the seat of the CME futures for contracts. So I wish I could be an enthusiastic, motivational speaker here as July gets underway, but I can't.
Yeah, we saw the WTI prices there. They were dipped below $100 earlier this week. It looked like they're going to close the week above 104. And the White House is in a tough spot here, as you know, Tom, and they are still standing by that widely panned plan for a 90-day gas tax holiday, panned by both sides of the aisle, quite frankly. Here is the press secretary just yesterday on that.
One of the things that the president will continue to call on is this gas holiday tax, this 90-day suspension on the federal gas tax, which we think is an easy thing to do. There are pieces of legislation right now in the House, in Congress, that can be easily picked up and passed.
Okay, it's an easy thing to do, but Tom, is it a productive thing to do? And we know the president will also go visit the Saudis. Does he have any bullets in the chamber?
He doesn't have any really easy bullets. It's more like the nuclear codes at the moment, where you have to go through a lot of different steps to really make a difference. I would say, and I don't like to cross into advocacy, there are a couple of things he can do before we get to the winter with diesel, heating oil, and jet fuel. There's a big refinery in St. Croix that was almost back up to production, but private equity didn't do a good job with it. And you could probably restart it and get some molecules for about $250 million or less. The gas tax holiday was going to mean about $10 billion less revenue. So I think there are things he can do. It'll be tough because Congress and the president are very adversarial these days. And, even if it's patriotic and it's something that would mean benefits for the U.S. population, it doesn't seem as though they're on the path to doing something.
And I just want to quickly ask you about these reports of the more than 5 million barrels of oil from the U.S. emergency reserves that are meant to lower domestic fuel prices being exported to Europe and Asia last month. Do we have more clarity on what happened there?
No, I mean, exports were, the ban on exports ended with the Obama administration back, I think, in 2016. So we've been exporting a lot of crude oil, and SPR barrels in particular are needed elsewhere in the world, particularly Europe. I mean, it's almost like land lease. I would probably argue that if not for the SPR releases, we'd be seeing higher prices for crude now. Now, the problem comes later this summer when people look at the SPR, Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and they see stocks at, the lows that they've seen for decades. So I think that's another updraft, unfortunately.
We do. Thank you for joining us with your insights. Tom Kloza there, OPIS Global Head of Energy Analysis. Thank you so much.